Meet a woman who's president of a local company that's been in business since 1869. Coming up next on Carolina People. I got a fax from our next guest yesterday morning. Right at the bottom, in tiny letters, quotation marks, it said, "In business since 1869. Russell Holliday. Monroe Management, Galvin's Ferry, a heck of a lot going on. We're focused on the stump. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
It was so exciting yesterday to get that fax and look at the bottom and in tiny print, in quotation marks, "In business since 1869.
It's a long time. I don't even notice that anymore, so I'm glad you brought that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about that. What does that go back to? Was that grandpa, great? I mean, that's a heck of a long way back.
It did. It was my great-grandfather was Joseph William Holliday, and he moved here from North Carolina. Came and he'd been in the lumber business, but he was in the turpentine business, and he came to Galvin's Ferry. He'd been in Conway for a while, then came to Galvin's Ferry and took over an existing store.
Okay.
And we now have the Petey Farm store there, but that is a descendant of his original store.
Right.
And he was in a time mercantile business, or time supply business. He was in the turpentine business. They were called naval stores because they did a lot of work on boats and repairing of boats, and it was right on the banks of the Little Petey River.
Right.
Everything comes from Joseph William Holliday.
That's
amazing.
Where
we got our start.
Now, even before that, what part of North Carolina did he move here from?
He moved, I'm going to have to tell you that I don't remember the name of the town. But my cousin Billy, who I believe that you will be talking to later, will be able to tell you a lot more about my great-grandfather.
We'll have to get into that, at least knowing he was from the Tar Heel State. Of course, we got a lot of viewers in Robinson, Scotland, and Brunswick and Columbus counties. So, of course, North Carolina is a very important part, and our director is a Chapel Hill grad and grew up in Guilford County. So there's a lot of time, and I'm from Durham, so I love North Carolina. But the Galvin's Ferry Stump is today's focus. Thanks so much for coming in. This thing's been around a long time, Russell.
It has been around a long time, and I'm really proud of our family that we've been able to keep it going. General Wade Hampton came through in 1876, and he stopped at this, little store and spoke to all the crowd, and he was running for governor. And that started, and he did win. And that was, we think, the beginning of the Galvin's Ferry stump speaking that's been going on since 1876. It occurs every 2 years.
Okay, every 2 years.
And one other thing I'd like to tell you is that back then, stump speakings were the way that the politicians got their voices heard. I mean, I think that Horry County had several, one in Conway, and they probably had about 10 to 12 stumps. South Carolina had a lot of stumps all over.
Yeah. Now, when we hear the term stump, what does that mean?
All right. They say that they think that the stump could have gotten its name from people who wanted to be heard standing on stumps, cut down trees.
Tree stumps, yeah.
And as that evolved, they would get on the backs of flatbed trucks and flatbed wagons, and just to be able to stand head and shoulders over the crowd. We would have them all over South Carolina, all over the United States. The Galvin's Ferry stump is the last one that is still continuous, and that we have been every 2 years since 1876.
Golly. And the next one, obviously, the one that we're focused on, May 10th. May 10th, it'll be there in Galvin's Ferry. And what does the day evolve? How does it, obviously for weeks, like right now, I mean, to begin promoting it now, or you've been promoting this for a heck of a long time, getting ready for...
It's Monday, May the 10th.
Right.
It starts about 4:30 in the afternoon when people will be gathering. We'll have entertainment going on. We'll have Red White and his band.
Right.
He is deceased, but his daughter is continuing the tradition. And they've been with us forever and ever. They're a wonderful bluegrass band, won a lot of awards. We will have some other entertainers also. We're hoping to have some cloggers. We're still finalizing all the everything. But the Ainer Masons will be cooking chicken bogs. So that will start in the morning. They start cooking in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I would hope that all our readers know, I mean, all your viewers know what chicken bog is. But it's, as you know, Horry County's jambalaya.
Right, right.
And it's just delicious, which is rice and chicken and sausage.
Absolutely. And now you've got folks who travel in from all over. Folks who come down from Washington, folks who will be in from Columbia. Obviously, this is open to Democrats only. Excuse me. Yeah.
It's open to Democrats only to speak.
Right.
But it is open to everybody. I mean, the crowd will be a big mixture of Democrats and Republicans.
Huh.
You will see all the candidates that are Republican and Democrat. I mean, I remember Mark Sanford being in the crowd and coming up to me and telling me he was running for Congress. I said, "Wait a minute, I don't have you on the agenda."
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, well, that's because I'm running as a Republican." I said, "Oh, well, we're glad to have you."
Good for you. That's right. I think I saw there was a quote in the State or in the Greenville News. Russell said her father told her that Republicans were welcome. Why was that?
Republicans are welcome because it's the only chance they get to see true democracy in action.
Oh, my God. That's a bold statement.
Well, it is. Think about it. I mean, there we are. We're letting anybody speak in the Democratic Party.
Right.
However, we send out invitations to everyone, including Republicans.
That is a great commitment. And to think of this going on since 1876.
It is amazing. We're very proud that it's been continuous like this. Most of the stumps fell by the wayside. And it makes common sense why when with radio and TV taking over, all of the candidates realized that it was a lot more efficient and they could reach a lot more people by being on TV. Therefore, they didn't have to travel to all the different stumps. My father and my uncle, who continued this tradition, were big cheerleaders and kept telling everybody it was a kiss of death if you did not show up at the Gallops Ferry stump speaking. It became a sort of that they would lose. It became a myth, and maybe not a myth, that if they did not appear at the Gallops Ferry stump speaking, they would lose their election. And that did occur. So that probably how the myth evolved.
Oh, yeah.
But my father would write all the newspapers, all the politicians, and he was an inveterate letter writer, and just continued to tell everybody they had to be there, and they come. We have people from Columbia. All the Democratic officials will come from Columbia. We will have people from Washington. Senator Fritz Hollins will be there. This will be his last stump as the highest elected official.
Right.
And we'll be honoring him at this stump.
That'll be a special day.
He got his start when he was running for lieutenant governor. I think it was in 1954. He got his political start at the Gallops Ferry stump speaking.
I think I saw before Strom Thurmond switched parties in 1948. Right. He was there, obviously, stumping away as well.
Oh, he was always there. Oh, yeah.
And I guess he would have come even later, just as to be in the crowd.
He did. He did. I mean, if you go around and go at the Gallops Ferry stump speaking and you look at the people, you will see more candidates that are from both parties. And that's why it is true democracy. I mean, you will have people who are running against some of our speakers in the crowd. Right.
Now, you have helped line up some spectacular guests for the next few weeks, Russell. Next week, I think John Jenrette's coming in, who I'm sure is stumped quite a few times in Gallows Ferry as well, has been up there for a heck of a lot of other events. Tommy Britton, and why did you think Tommy Britton would be a good person to come in?
Well, Tommy Britton is our MC.
Okay.
And he is the first non-family related MC that we've had. He was the MC 2 years ago, and he was the first then. Because we either had a family member or a member who was like family, who had been with us forever and ever. Bill Davis, who was so well known in the county, had been the head of the school board, especially during a lot of racial tension. I mean, he really kept that calm, and he was our MC forever. So, unfortunately, when he passed away, we were happy to get Tommy Britton.
You had to find someone else, and Tommy's the son of a former Methodist minister, is that right?
Yes. And you can tell by listening to him that he's got the same oratory skills as his father.
Oh yeah, very definitely. And I think Sally Howard's coming in, and then even later your cousin Billy.
Oh, you'll love listening to both of them. Sally Howard is so well known in Democratic politics here in Horry County, as well as, you'll like this, she was very involved in North Carolina and very involved with Senator John Edwards. So she'll be really interesting to speak with. She represents the other Holliday family, which is Billy's family, in helping us, the John Monroe Holliday family, in putting on this event together. So she is so knowledgeable and such a big help.
Yes.
So you'll like speaking with her, and you will love speaking to Billy.
Now, why? What's the big deal about Billy Holliday? Other than that sounds like a musician, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't tell him that.
Right.
But Billy has just got such a world of history at his fingertips. And he knows little anecdotes about, back in the past, things that happened at the stump or things that happened about my great-grandfather, Joseph William Holliday. And after that, we had, by the way, George Judson Holliday, who was my grandfather, and who served in the South Carolina Senate from, I think, 1904 to 1908. But you'll love listening to Billy. He's great.
We can't wait. That'll be special. What about yourself, Russell? You grew up in Galvins Ferry. You left for a little while. I think I saw on a little bit of your bio you'd been in New York City for a good while and done some finance classes up there after graduating from school in the upstate, headed up there and spent a heck of a long time in the Big Apple.
Well, I did. I thought that I would probably eventually end up in Galvins Ferry. So
Really?
I said, I thought, after school, I need to go and see the world.
Yeah.
So I decided I wanted to get into advertising. Is what I wanted to do. So I thought, I've got to go to New York City to do that. And but when I got there, everybody said, well, you can't get a job. You don't have any experience in advertising. So I luckily was able to get a job at Morgan Stanley in the brokerage and was trained by them, got registered as a stockbroker. But it's really not what I wanted to do. So from there, I was able to work my way into the magazine business and advertising. I was with Red Book magazine and with Town and Country magazine. And I spent 10 years in New York.
Yeah, and it looked like 7 or 8 years with the magazines. That's a big deal. What was that like, being with a national publication, knowing things you were doing were impacting folks around the world?
Well, it was really exciting. I'll tell you that I think I must not be a princess because I can't feel the pee under the mattress. Because no matter where you put me, I feel at home. So, I went to New York. This Galvins Ferry girl goes to New York. It just felt very natural and normal. And to me, working in the business was easy, but exciting to meet all the people that we got to meet. And I remember when I decided to come home 10 years later, I thought, I need to bring these ideals, these New York City ideals to Galvins Ferry. Well, it took me about a month to realize that the Galvins Ferry ideals, I think, were the better way.
Yeah.
I kept trying to change my father. I said, oh, no, this is not the way they do it in New York City. And Daddy said, this is how it's done in Galvins Ferry. And I realized it was right.
That is great. That is great. You said a few minutes ago, Russell, your dad was an inveterate letter writer. It makes me think, what would your dad have thought about email? Did he ever get into email before he passed away?
He did.
Yeah.
I'll tell you first that we grew up with a crank telephone, where long time after everybody else still had, y'all had rotary telephones. We had the crank. And so I think our telephone number was 2 longs and a short. I think my cousin Billy's might have been 1 long and 2 shorts. I don't remember. But
kidding.
And the filling station was another, like 3 little rings.
Right.
And it was really interesting. And so I remember then we had the rotary telephones. And so then we had to get fax machines. They don't work with rotary. When we had to show my father that we were going to the push button little tones and have more than 1 line on one, it was very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Then he graduated to email. Now, he didn't email back and forth, but he did like looking at the stock market on the computer. So we got to that level.
Yeah, yeah. For you and your sister, the experience of obviously, and now she's come back. She's close at hand. Her husband, your brother-in-law, was on with us last Friday. Totally unrelated to the stump, just talking about development and learning about preservation development. He's been very involved in that. But for you and your sister now living there, and your mom's obviously still there and very active.
We're living in Gallivan's Ferry. My sister and her husband moved from Greenville and built a wonderful house in Gallivan's Ferry. It's so nice. You know, our population is just doubling in Gallivan's Ferry. And we're so happy to have her back. Now, my sister did work with my father before I did. She came home from Greenville for a while and worked with him, and then sort of set the tone for me to work with my father. Then when they came home, she's working in the family business as well. And her husband, as you have him on Friday, he is in a development business, but he gives us so much input that we need.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I can't ask my father all the questions that I would like to ask. And then my husband, who lives in Columbia and works for Edenton Avant, we rely on him so much for his advice. So the two women are very lucky, I mean, that we have other people to help us with some information that maybe we haven't had experience with.
Yeah, absolutely. That it is vital, and of course, I'm sure your father's spirit lives with all y'all, and your mom has loved staying there, close at hand. Do y'all get out a good bit, Russell?
Oh yeah, well, we get Mama out to play golf, and she goes and has supper clubs, and she gets out a lot. But we miss my father. But we are trying to do everything the way he taught us to do it. He believed that if you gave your word was solid. You didn't have to have a piece of paper that said this is the way you're going to do anything. If we gave our word, that's it. And we're still living by those standards.
That's great. That's great. Speaking of golf, I think I saw you were the runner-up for the ladies golf, maybe an award or something in the early 90s there at the Dunes. Are you still an active golfer?
Oh, I'm still in fact, I'm planning on playing this afternoon.
Oh, golly.
If it's not too windy.
That's right.
But, yeah, I'm still there. I've been very fortunate that I have won the championship, and my sister and I compete against each other, and she should have won last year.
Oh, yeah.
But she just faltered a little bit. I think she missed by one stroke. So we are friendly competitors.
And tennis and hunting, dove, duck, and quail. You work hard, obviously, Russell, and it sounds like play hard as well.
Well, I think you need that. I think we're lucky in Gallivan's Ferry that we've got a lot of land that has wildlife on it. I mean, we're lucky that we're able to go dove hunting and to go quail hunting and to go duck hunting. Turkey hunting. Turkey hunting has just started. So I think, a lot of your readers are probably not watching this morning because they're out there looking for that little pesky turkey.
Yeah, that's right. They're not tuning in for Russell, whether it's Russell or not. They're looking for the turkey, I'm sure.
Well, we were lucky in Gallivan's Ferry in that all of us, my cousins, my sister, my brother, we all hunted with my father. My mother would go out a little bit, but she didn't love it like the rest of us. But it's a way for people to be together with their families. The South Carolina, just as a little aside, South Carolina's got a program called Take One, Make One, which is a program that Department of Natural Resources sponsors that hunters who would like or would be willing to take a youngster, a little boy, a little girl, and out and show them hunting or anything about wildlife. There's a program where they'll set them up, mentors with young children, because maybe their parents don't have the access to hunting or don't have the knowledge. So it's a wonderful program.
That's good to know. I'm sure there probably a heck of a lot of folks have taken people up on that.
Oh, they have. They have. My husband has a young boy that he takes out for all the different kinds of hunting, who is actually the son of a female game warden, but she doesn't hunt. So he paired with this young boy and has had a wonderful time teaching him about turkey hunting, quail hunting, deer hunting.
When you think of that aspect, you talking about enabling families to be together. You got to be pretty quiet out there a lot of the time, though, right?
Oh, you do. You do. But you're quiet with nature.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
I mean, you're still communicating, and you can whisper.
And you can whisper. The stump is kind of that solitude with nature. I mean, every other year being out there in May, but for those 2 years leading up to it, I mean, it's a constant preparation. What are some of the things you've got to do between now and May 10th to get to the grounds ready, and of course, I saw at times, Russell, you all have had up to 5,000 folks there on site.
We have. But there's a lot to do. We've got to get out the press. We really have not done all the press releases yet because we're still trying to figure out who we've got coming. We've got invitations to a lot of people in Washington we would like to honor Fritz this year. So we've got an invitation to Biden and Dodd, to a lot of his friends, Fritz's friends in Washington. We're hoping, we've got an invitation to Senator John Edwards, who is now stumping for Senator Kerry. So there's a good possibility, the fact that South Carolina voted for Senator Edwards,
sure,
that he would want to be at the Gallivan's Ferry stump. He was supposed to be at the Gallivan's Ferry stump 2 years ago, and unfortunately was called away at the last minute because of a controversial vote on Monday night.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, he had gotten as far as Greenville. And had done a morning thing in Greenville, and then was doing I think he did a lunch in Greenville, and then was flying down here, and at the last minute had to fly back to Washington, which is also Senator Fritz Highlands, which was the first time ever that he had missed a stump because he had to go back for this vote.
Right, you said in 1954 when he was stumping for lieutenant governor, so this would be 50 years.
Isn't that something?
For him. 50
and you know, he just became a senior senator. He's been a junior senator all these years.
Yeah, that's amazing. That is amazing. You know, it's that excitement, and I remember being out there a couple of years ago and seeing the crowds, and as you say, a real true cross mix of both parties, everyone represented, but the excitement for people to get up there, and there's a lot of nerves going, and for y'all trying to make sure everything's just right.
Yeah, well, we've got, you get, it's in the parking lot of the store.
Sure.
So, I mean, here it is on the banks of the Little Petey River, right on Highway 501, in the parking lot of Petey Farm Store. So we've got gas tanks out there. We've got, some shade under the gas tanks because sometimes it can be very hot. So we've got to clean up and, make sure everything's just right for everybody. But we will have crowds all over. I mean, we get people coming from Charleston, from Greenville. The Greenville News comes.
Right.
A lot of people from Columbia.
Sure.
Mullins, Marion, Florence, all the those areas, all Horry County.
Well, so what about that? Have you ever contemplated heading back to New York, taking a little bit of Gallivan's Ferry back? I mean, when you came back down here and found out after a month New York's just not going to fit in down here, and what I knew of New York City really didn't belong down here. Did you ever think about going back there to show them a little bit of what it's really about?
No, not anymore. I remember when I came home, I had a leave of absence from Hearst magazines, and they said, in a year, if you want to come back, we'll put you in any position that's open. I think they called me in about a year and wanted me to go to, I believe it was Cosmopolitan magazine, and I thought, here was my year, it was up. I thought, I can't go back. I wasn't finished with what I wanted to do, and this was my heritage. And so I had fallen back in love with Gallivan's Ferry and the South Carolina and Horry County and the South Carolina ways. That no, I would not want to go back. But I would remember calling some of my friends at the magazines, and they'd all be dressed up in their suits, and I'd be sitting in the office, and maybe I wasn't with anybody. I was in blue jeans, and I had a dog at my, at the foot of my desk. And I said, guess what I'm doing today? I got my dog in here, and we're going hunting this afternoon.
Oh my God, they would flip.
And then we were on Today's Show and Good Morning America.
Oh yeah.
And then I called all my friends up in New York. I said, okay, now you're going to get to see what it's like in Gallivan's Ferry.
Right. Golly, how special.
It's just wonderful. And Russell, you better be there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. May 10th. It's on the calendar. Well, what about, think about it now, Russell. If you weren't actively running Monroe Management with your sister and all the experiences there, what do you think you'd be doing?
Gosh. What would I be doing? I think that all along I was always going to come back here. And what is it, Thomas Wolfe? You can't go home again. It's not true. You can go home again. I was always going to come back. You know, my sister. I mean, there she was in Greenville raising 3 children. Her husband with a business that, you know, started in Greenville. Right. They all came. He wanted to come. I remember her children saying, "How dare you take me out of Greenville to the middle of nowhere with it has only a blinking light?" Mm-hmm. And they all love Gallivan's Ferry. Mm. So Horry County has a way of bringing you back.
Golly, listen to that. The biggest county in the state, probably in the Carolinas. She fell back in love with Gallivan's Ferry, always coming back. The daughter of a inveterate letter writer who would have lived and loved to see, golly, 125 plus years here, almost 130 years now of the Gallivan's Ferry stump. Russell, thanks so much for being with us this
Thank
morning.
you, Greg. I appreciate being here.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. The events, the Gallivan's Ferry stump, the date is Monday, May 10th, 128 years after the first stump was held. Get out there on the 10th, 4:30 p.m. If you want to get out there, 6 o'clock. The official ceremony begins. It'll go on for as long as it takes.